second shadow. Chapter 1, Ghost Protocol. Baltimore, Maryland, February. The room smelled like dust and burnt coffee, that particular scent of neglect, like something once full of purpose that had dried out and been left to rot. A single desk lamp cast a jaundiced cone of light across a tangle of circuit boards, a half-assembled drone, and 3 empty bottles of Glenlivet. Jack Halvorsen sat hunched over the desk, eyes bloodshot, face carved with lines that hadn't been there 3 years ago. The screen flickered again. Access denied, clearance revoked. He stared at it, not with surprise, just the dull acceptance of a man who had learned, through repetition, how to lose everything and still breathe. He didn't shave anymore unless he had a meeting, which was rare. His beard came in patchy now, like his hair, like the loyalty of former colleagues. Jack had once briefed generals. He had rewritten field protocols for covert interception in hostile zones. Now he hunted compromised routers for paranoid startups and tracked cheating spouses for divorce attorneys with money to burn. The door buzzed. He didn't move. Buzz again. Longer. Then a knock. Soft. Polite. Like someone afraid of being a nuisance. That was what made him stand. He cracked the door and looked through the chain. A woman. Early 40s, auburn hair pulled back in a precise knot. Pale green eyes, startlingly direct. She wore a navy coat, professional but scuffed at the elbows. She looked up as if she could see through the wood.
Jack Halvorsen?
He stared.
I'm Emily Rowan.
She said.
We hit each other in the parking garage on Charles Street this morning.
He blinked. She held up a photo, her front bumper crushed, his rusted sedan in the background, license plate visible.
You left before we could exchange insurance. I found you through your registration.
Jack closed his eyes, of course.
I'm not here to make a scene,
She added.
but I figured
She gestured to the broken-down exterior.
you might need the check more than I do.
He opened the door, and just like that, she stepped in. Uninvited, but not unwelcome. There was something in her posture, a kind of confident compassion that bypassed his defenses before he could reconstruct them. She surveyed the room and smiled with a mix of understanding and quiet judgment.
You were someone once.
She said. He almost laughed. Instead, he nodded slowly.
I still am.
He said, not quite believing it himself. 4 months later, she was still there. They didn't fall in love in fireworks. It was slower, quieter, a shared silence after long days. Coffee mugs exchanged without words. Conversations about nothing that meant everything. Emily had the patience of someone who worked daily with trauma. She didn't try to fix him. She just let him exist beside her until he started to believe he still could. They moved in together, got a rescue dog. Jack cut back on drinking, shaved more often. He started consulting again, this time for a defense contractor that Emily's hospital partnered with for veteran outreach. Low clearance work. But it was a step. He built firewalls, reviewed encryption protocols. The hours were decent. The money was steady. He began cautiously to hope, until the day Clara Vale walked into his department and smiled like she already knew everything about him. Chapter 2, The Smile That Didn't Blink. DC Metro Area, Cyber Division, Ardent Stratcom Defense Group. Jack Halvorsen didn't trust smiles. Not the corporate kind, not the social kind, and especially not the kind that walked in on black leather heels, wearing a crimson blouse and an expression just a little too measured to be spontaneous. She was in her 20s, no more than 25. Long black hair, precise, deliberate, not a strand out of place. Pale skin, sharper jawline than most models, and those eyes, still as ice, like she hadn't blinked since birth. He knew the look. He'd seen it in interrogation rooms. Predatory curiosity wrapped in silk.
New hire.
Said Wilson, his supervisor, mild-mannered, forgettable.
Clara Vale, cybersecurity intern. Top of her class, did code architecture for a banking app last year that got bought by MetaVault.
She extended a hand. He shook it, felt the chill of it down to his wrist.
I've read your reports, Mr. Halvorsen,
She said.
and your Istanbul file.
That pulled the oxygen from the room. Wilson chuckled like he hadn't heard it. or didn't understand. Jack looked at Clara.
You shouldn't have access to that.
I don't.
She said.
Not officially.
Jack studied her face. That smile never moved. She went to her desk without another word. 3 days later, she was quick. Too quick. She finished analysis assignments twice as fast as the others. When he questioned her about her methodology, she explained in dry, elegant technical language, with occasional sidelong glances like she was checking for approval, or something else. One afternoon, she stood behind him watching him debug a neural defense sequence.
Your hands are precise.
She said, not flirtatious, almost clinical.
Most men your age are slower.
Jack didn't look up.
That's not an appropriate comment in the workplace.
No,
She replied.
but it's true.
She walked off, just like that, no smirk, no shame, like the conversation hadn't happened. A week later, Jack sat alone in the break room. Black coffee, no cream, no sugar, the way he liked it. She entered silently, sat across from him with her own mug. She didn't speak for a full minute. Then,
I read your oplog on the Istanbul failure.
Jack froze mid-sip.
It wasn't an oplog, it was a tribunal deposition.
I know, but it read like a confession.
She tilted her head.
Did it feel that way to you?
His pulse climbed in tight, measured steps. She smiled, not seductively, but with what looked like genuine interest.
It fascinates me how intelligence work demands both precision and abandonment. One wrong variable, 6 men dead, and still the machine keeps turning.
Jack stood.
This conversation is over.
He didn't report it. He told himself it wasn't worth it, that he could handle it, that he had handled worse. But when he walked back to his desk, he found an old photo on his monitor, him in uniform, taken over 10 years ago, smiling back when he still knew how. The file wasn't on the server. It wasn't anywhere. It should have been. He stared at the screen, and for a moment, Jack Halvorsen, the man who once ghosted warlords and cracked encrypted black site chatter, felt watched in a way that had nothing to do with surveillance. Something older, something colder, something that didn't blink. Chapter 3, Hairline Fractures. Arlington, Virginia. Emily's office. Arlington General Hospital. The printer was jamming again. Emily stared at the flickering red light like it owed her an apology. She was halfway through prepping an administrative compliance report, dull, dense work that required precision, and the machine had decided to chew through the final 6 pages like a caffeinated goat. She pulled the cartridge drawer open and started tugging the paper free.
Hey, Em,
Said Marie, one of the ER coordinators, poking her head in.
did you send me that trauma unit memo? I got an email, but the attachment's corrupted.
I just printed it.
Emily paused.
Wait, you got it?
Marie nodded.
From your personal email, actually. Weird.
Emily's face stiffened. She never sent anything work-related from her personal email, never even accessed it from this machine. She brushed it off. Printer stress. Fatigue. Maybe she had done it and forgotten. That night, Home Jack was already in bed, book in hand, something dense and nonfiction, the kind of counterintelligence tome he used as a sleep aid. Emily sat at her vanity, brushing her hair, eyes unfocused. Then she saw it, on the nightstand, a note. At first she thought it was hers. She often scribbled reminders, but this wasn't her handwriting. You're always being watched, even when you're with him. Her heart punched once, hard and cold. She looked over at Jack.
What's this?
She asked, holding it out. He took it, frowned.
Where did you find this?
Your nightstand.
He shook his head.
I didn't write this.
They stared at each other. Jack's expression stayed calm, but Emily saw it, the shift behind his eyes. He knew something, or suspected something. He opened the drawer, checked through it. Nothing else.
Maybe it was a prank?
He said finally, but his voice didn't sell it. Not to her. Days later, the coffee shop. Emily liked routine. It calmed her, kept the noise down. Every Friday morning, she stopped at Juno's Cafe before work. Same table, same drink, 1 sugar, one cream, oat milk if they had it. She walked in. Her table was taken by a woman, pale, dark-haired, striking, red lipstick, tailored coat, reading The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate, one of Emily's favorite books. The woman glanced up and gave a soft, respectful nod. Emily smiled back politely and took another table. She ordered. The woman didn't approach, but when Emily's drink came, it wasn't what she ordered. Double espresso, black. She looked up. The woman was gone. Later that week, the escalation. It started with the small things. Her keycard failed. It claimed her login attempted to access restricted files on the mental health floor at 2 a.m. while she was asleep. Her phone kept disconnecting from the hospital VPN. Her HR file showed a reprimand she never received. Someone had flagged her for unauthorized patient access. Nothing formal, just enough to stir the water, she told Jack. He listened, nodded, but didn't offer solutions. He was distracted lately, more distant. And when she asked if something was wrong at work, he shut down.
Nothing I can't handle.
That was the last thing he said before she found the email on her phone. The email, from an unknown address, subject line blank, just a single sentence. You deserve someone who's honest with you. Check the security footage from March 12th. West Lobby, 9:13 a.m. Emily did. She called in a favor to the IT security chief, said it was about a lost badge. He didn't question her. She watched the grainy footage, saw Jack in the lobby, standing beside a woman. That woman. Dark hair, red lipstick. They weren't touching, but the body language. It felt intimate. Then the woman touched his wrist, lightly, briefly. Jack didn't pull away. Emily paused the video, zoomed in, stared, her stomach twisted. That night, she didn't confront him. Not yet. But when Jack went to shower, she checked his briefcase. Inside was a single USB drive in a small sealed envelope, labeled in Jack's handwriting.
Veil
Protocol, do not open until confirmed threat status. Emily stared at the envelope, heart pounding. She didn't open it. Not yet, but she knew something was happening. Something neither of them fully understood. And someone, somewhere, wanted her to break first. Chapter 4. Burn Patterns. D.C. Ardent Stratcom Facility, Sublevel 3. Jack Halvorsen stared at the security feed on his second monitor, watching frame by frame as Clara Vale walked past the server hub 2 nights ago. She didn't touch anything. No badge scans. No login attempts. Just passing through, except she shouldn't have had access to that corridor. He cross-referenced timestamp logs. Her credentials were clean. Too clean. No anomalies, no errors. He checked another layer. Back-end traces on the door panel logs. A shadow ping. Someone had cloned a credential badge using an emulated MAC address, a method used in overseas ops to piggyback on real staff logins. It had been flagged once before in Istanbul, years ago. That op, Jack's gut turned like bad whiskey. She knew the method. She knew his methods. Back home, midnight. Jack sat alone in the garage, door half shut. He'd pulled the drive from his briefcase, the one marked VALEPROTOCOL. He hadn't even told Emily about it. He wanted to protect her. Or maybe he didn't know how to tell her. He inserted it into a wiped laptop. No network, no connections. Cold iron. The drive contained 5 files, no names, only timestamps. 1. Extracted footage. Clara watching Emily from across the hospital parking lot. 2. Screenshot of Clara browsing Emily's private social media from a masked VPN. 3. Audio recording. Clara whispering into her phone, "She's in the way." 4. Metadata. Deepfake artifact traces in the photo Emily found of Jack and Clara. 5. A single still image. Clara in Jack and Emily's backyard. 4:12 a.m. No message. No commentary. Jack closed his eyes. She was in the perimeter. Flashback. Istanbul. There had been a girl, Operative, code name Sabine, real name scrubbed, a psychological ghost walker. They used her for proximity disruption, counter-radicalization in soft zones. Jack had given her a soft extraction order, told her to wait. Backup never came. His line was cut. Her last message?
Tell your wife you're sorry for what's coming.
Back then, Jack wasn't married. He hadn't understood the message. Now he did. The next day, confrontation attempt. He found Clara in the break room. She was standing by the coffee machine, staring into the drip as though watching planets align. Vale, he said. She turned. No surprise, no blink.
You know my name, she said.
Voice calm.
That's a good start.
Jack walked up to her. Not close, just close enough to cut space.
Whatever you think this is, ends now.
She tilted her head.
What do you think it is?
You've breached systems. You've shadowed my wife. You left something on my nightstand.
I left you nothing, she said evenly. Everything you're seeing was already there. You're just noticing it now.
He stared.
You think I'm manipulating you, but what if I'm the only person who sees you clearly?
She stepped closer, eyes locked.
Emily doesn't know what you've done. She doesn't understand the man you really are. But I do.
Jack's fist curled at his sides, not with rage, with control. She smiled, small, satisfied.
You can't protect her. Not from me, not from you.
Later that night, digital lockdown. Jack pulled out old gear, cold storage drives, encrypted boot partitions, tools he hadn't used in years. If Clara was digging through their lives, he'd beat her at her own game. He set a honey trap system, fake emails, fake surveillance folders, a single file labeled : Emily final dot move. He left it unguarded and waited. When the alert pinged 4 hours later, Jack smiled. She took the bait. He had her IP, bounced through 5 countries, but it was a pattern now, traceable, and it told him something deeper. Clara wasn't operating alone. There was architecture behind her, planning, resources. This wasn't obsession. It was something colder, calculated replacement. Chapter 5, The Hollow Mirror. Alexandria, Juno's Cafe, Friday, 7:42 a.m. Emily arrived early, too early. The coffee shop was half empty, just a few quiet laptop people and a barista whose playlist was stuck on ambient piano. She sat at the far corner table, the one with the crooked leg and the scarred surface where someone had etched everyone's lying in jagged loops. She chose it on purpose. A minute later, Clara walked in. Same coat, same tailored precision. Hair in a sleek ponytail, lips blood red and perfect. She didn't look surprised to see Emily sitting there. No startle, no hesitation, as if she'd expected this moment. She approached the table. Emily said nothing. Clara sat across from her, calm, regal, her hands folded in her lap like she was preparing to bless a meal.
You've been following me.
Emily said. Clara tilted her head, smiling faintly.
No, just observing. It's different.
I've seen the footage.
Clara shrugged.
Surveillance is just another word for intimacy in this century.
Emily leaned forward. Her voice didn't rise, it lowered. Controlled, sharp.
Stay away from my husband.
That smile didn't fade.
You don't really know your husband.
I know him better than you ever will.
No, you know who he lets you see, Clara said.
I know the man who made 6 decisions in Istanbul that cost lives. The man who buried it, who drinks it down every night in silence. She leaned in slightly.
You love the recovery arc. I know the fracture. That's the difference.
Emily's hand twitched, but she didn't look away.
You think you're smarter than me?
Emily said.
I am.
Clara replied softly.
And yet, here you are, sitting across from me, mimicking me, my clothes, my routines. You've spent months trying to insert yourself into my life.
Emily's voice sharpened.
That's not power, that's envy.
Clara's face froze. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. A microfracture.
I'm not trying to be you, Clara whispered.
I'm trying to show him that you're unnecessary. Emily stood.
I know your game now. I've alerted hospital security. My access logs are being reviewed. Jack's tracking your IPs. You're not invisible anymore.
She leaned down, one final message.
Get comfortable being watched.
Emily turned, walking out into the chill air. Clara didn't follow. Later that day, Clara's apartment. Clara sat alone, lights off. No music, no movement. She stared at a blank wall. In her lap was a printed copy of Emily's hospital badge. She ran her fingers over the lamination slowly, reverently, a ritual of possession. Then she whispered, not to herself, but to some internal presence that had no name.
She thinks she's taken the high ground. She doesn't know the ground is rigged.
She pressed a button on her encrypted laptop. A countdown appeared. System disruption initiated. Phase 1. Emily Rowan credential breach. Chapter 6. The Ghost File. Location, secure workspace, Northern Virginia. Jack Halvorsen sat in front of a wall of black monitors, a steaming mug of black coffee going cold at his elbow. 2 phones, 1 burner, 1 secure line, lay on the desk. His laptop's fan was humming like a breath held too long. On screen, a patchwork of images, data files, and metadata trees. He was building a shadow map. One Clara Vale hadn't intended to exist. Her official records were airtight, too airtight. MIT graduate, cybersecurity focus, with a thesis on behavioral firewalls. No professors remembered her. One faculty email bounced. Another wrote back, "That name doesn't ring a bell. Are you sure she was here?" She wasn't. Jack had seen this before. In the field during back-channel asset recruitment, identities crafted from scrap parts, real enough to hold up to background checks, but soft around the edges. Too perfect. Too curated. He dropped her digital signature into an offline matching protocol, cross-referencing facial mapping, biometrics, and old DIA archives. A match hit, not perfect, but close enough to raise the hair on the back of his neck. Operative codename, Sabine file, Echidna red level. Status, presumed KIA, Istanbul, 2019. Last handler communication, Halvorsen, J. He clicked on the attached redacted transcript. Sabine, you said extraction. Halvorsen, it's in motion. Sabine, I hear screams downstairs. That doesn't sound like motion. Halvorsen, hold position. I'm coming. Sabine, no you're not. I see what this is. Halvorsen, don't go dark. Sabine, end line. Jack leaned back, breath shallow. It was her. Not just the methodology, not just the way she looked at him. It was the cadence, the voice, the same subtle, surgical venom he'd dismissed as stress back then. Sabine hadn't died. She'd been reborn as Clara Vale. Location, Jack and Emily's home, 2:47 a.m. Jack moved silently through the house. Emily was asleep upstairs, the dog curled at her feet. The air was still. He opened his safe. Inside, a hard copy file marked Ophelia Contingency, a standing protocol designed for handling rogue intelligence assets with emotional compromise indicators. He'd written the damn thing during the last months of his clearance cycle. He opened the file and flipped to the final page. A fractured operative with a vendetta will never kill you directly. They'll kill who you are, one connection at a time. When you're finally alone, they'll offer you their hand. You'll take it just to feel something again. And that's when they win. His hand hovered over the emergency contact sheet. Former handler network, off-books operatives, ghosts who owed him favors or grudges. He selected one name, Marcus Tellis, former DIA/psychological warfare unit. He picked up the burner and dialed. It rang twice, then,
You found her, didn't you?
Marcus said without hello. Jack closed his eyes.
She found me first.
Chapter 7. The Soft Kill. Undisclosed location. Clara's apartment, 3:11 a.m. The room was silent except for the whir of hard drives and Clara's breathing, so shallow it barely stirred her chest. She sat in a high-backed chair, one leg crossed elegantly over the other, eyes locked on a laptop screen that displayed Emily Rowan's hospital intranet portal. A prompt blinked. Access granted. Emily Rowan. Admin override active. Clara smiled. Phase 1 was complete. She leaned forward and typed in the new directive, her fingers deliberate. Flag all communications from Emily Rowan as containing PHI violations. Trigger automated suspension, pending internal audit. One click, then she opened the secondary channel. Emily's private text chain with Jack. Clara had intercepted it for weeks, collecting tone, cadence, pacing. She'd built a mirror conversation, a language model of their love, in essence. She uploaded the mock profile into a text spoofing protocol. Typed, Jack, I don't think we can fix this. I love you, but I don't trust this anymore. Jack, we've been pretending it's stable. It's not. She sent it, waited. Seconds later, she received a real message. Emily's frantic reply. Emily, what are you talking about? Jack, where are you? Can we please talk before you say something you can't take back? Clara stared at the screen, impassive. Then she whispered almost lovingly,
Watch yourself break.
Later that morning, Emily's hospital office. Emily sat at her desk, staring at her inbox. Effective immediately, your administrative account has been locked, pending investigation of flagged transmissions containing potential patient information. An internal review will follow shortly. Her heart hammered. She grabbed her phone, dialed IT, no answer. Tried her supervisor, voicemail. She went to call Jack, but paused. Something about their text the night before. Had he really said that? Or was she misreading again? She opened her thread with Jack. Half the messages were gone, deleted, or never sent. Midday, hospital lobby. Clara watched from a distance, seated with a clipboard in hand, dressed in hospital gray scrubs and a disposable mask. A fake ID badge read, Dr. Karen Stallworth, psychiatric rounds. She observed Emily pacing near the HR wing. Panic, distrust, disorientation. Everything Clara had fed her, paranoia by precision, was blooming. A man sat beside Clara. Average build, slight limp. Clara didn't look at him.
You're going too fast,
He murmured.
No.
She replied, eyes never leaving Emily. She's already broken. She just hasn't collapsed yet. The man shifted uncomfortably.
Halvorsen's digging. He's back-channeling DIA files. He'll find the Echidiano link.
Clara smiled under the mask.
Good. Let him.
The man hesitated.
And if he tracks it to you?
Clara finally turned, her eyes twin scalpels of glass.
Then we move to phase 3.
Chapter 8, Static in the Mirror. Arlington General Hospital, HR office, 11:42 a.m. Emily sat stiffly across from the Director of Human Resources, a plump woman with nervous eyes and a smile too polished for bad news.
I just want to be clear.
The director said.
No one's accusing you of malicious intent. This could be a simple error, but until the audit's resolved, your access needs to remain frozen.
Emily's mouth was dry.
I've never sent confidential files, not even by accident. I don't take work home. I've followed protocol since day one.
The HR director nodded with tight sympathy.
And we appreciate that, but the flagged transmissions came from your account with your login credentials from your device.
Emily blinked.
I don't understand.
Then she did. Clara. That name hadn't appeared in any system. Not yet. Not in a way she could prove. She stood abruptly.
I need a copy of the audit,
She said.
Everything. Every timestamp. Every flagged document. I'm entitled to it.
The HR director's face hardened slightly.
We'll see what legal permits.
Outside, parking garage. She didn't get in her car. She sat on the curb, hands shaking. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail from a number she didn't recognize. She listened.
Emily, this is Dr. Keller from Behavioral Health. I understand you asked about your intake session for today. Just confirming it's at 3 p.m., though I wasn't aware you were under a review protocol. I've got the chart you submitted this morning, but I'd prefer to go over it in person.
Emily froze. She hadn't submitted any chart. She hadn't scheduled any appointment. She ended the call and checked her medical account. Someone had created a patient profile. Someone had added psychological flags, paranoia, emotional dysregulation, suspected delusional thinking. Emily was being framed as unstable. Back home, 6:02 p.m., the house felt wrong, too still. She went to the kitchen. One of the mugs was on the counter, half full, cooling. But she hadn't made tea. She checked the back door, locked, the windows, shut. She opened the drawer by the sink and saw it, a single red lipstick. Her brand, but slightly off, not hers. She backed away, slowly. That night, the shower scene. Steam curled along the mirror. She stood beneath the hot water, willing the shaking to stop, trying to reset her breath, her body, her thoughts. Then she heard it, a click, not loud, just deliberate, like a camera shutter. She froze, rinsed the soap from her eyes, turned off the water, listened. Nothing. She stepped out, heart pounding, dripping on the tile. She grabbed a towel and moved to the mirror. In the condensation, someone had traced letters with a fingertip. "I know how you breathe," she screamed. Minutes later, Jack's return. He found her on the bathroom floor, knees drawn to her chest, towel clutched in one fist, phone in the other. She didn't cry. She stared at the mirror like it was a window into something she couldn't unsee. Jack crouched beside her.
Emily,
She's not just watching us.
Emily said. Her voice was low, mechanical.
She's inside, in our house, our lives. She's becoming me.
Jack took her face gently in his hands.
I know who she is now.
He said.
I know what she was trained to do.
Emily didn't blink.
And what is that?
Jack's voice dropped to a whisper.
Break what you love before it breaks you.
Chapter 9. The False Sunrise. Unknown location, 3:47 a.m. Clara sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor of an empty apartment, lit only by the glow of 5 monitors. She wore no makeup, no mask. Her real face, sharp, almost regal, utterly devoid of warmth, was reflected in the central screen. On it, a live feed of Emily sleeping. Not from the bedroom. From a hidden camera in the hallway, angled through the cracked door. Clara watched Emily breathe, counted each rise and fall of the chest. 47, 48, 49. Then she tapped a key. Send. Are you awake? We need to talk. Come outside, I'm waiting. Jack. On Emily's phone, the text flashed silently. Outside the house, 4:11 a.m. Emily opened the door in a daze. The night was humid and dark, the suburban silence dense enough to choke on. The streetlights buzzed overhead. The front yard was empty. No Jack, just a car parked across the street, engine running. The driver's side door open. Clara stepped out. Black hoodie, joggers, no makeup, just her face, the one that had haunted Emily's mirrors and inboxes in dreams. Emily froze. Clara didn't speak. She held out a folder. Emily didn't move. Clara dropped it on the ground between them, then backed away into the shadows, never breaking eye contact. Emily stared for a full minute before she picked it up. The folder. Inside were a forged document declaring Emily voluntarily admitted herself for psychiatric observation at a private clinic. A signed note from Jack authorizing extended treatment. A printed email thread fabricated between Emily and a man named Dr. Theo Grange, discussing her break from reality and hallucinations. An ID badge. Emily Rowan, patient number 4512, 2 Eveleen's Behavioral Institute. She dropped the folder and staggered back. This wasn't about scaring her. Clara was trying to replace her entirely. Inside the house, 4:47 a.m. The lights were on. Jack was in the kitchen, phone in hand, talking low to someone. Emily slammed the folder on the counter.
She's prepping something. Institutional. She's going to vanish me, Jack.
Jack picked up the papers. His face paled.
These are good. Too good. They'll pass unless someone knows exactly what they're looking for.
She wants me to break down, be found unstable, be removed, and then she'll slide in like I was never there.
He nodded slowly, eyes flicking through every detail. Then, this is a total replacement protocol. I've only seen one before. Moscow, 2006. Failed, but only because the target killed themselves before the replacement could be installed. Emily stared at him.
Would it have worked?
Jack met her eyes.
Everything except the soul.
Elsewhere, 5:02 a.m. Clara stood before a mirror in a motel room, dressed now in Emily's clothes, down to the hospital badge, the same necklace, the same shade of lipstick. On the bed lay a burner phone with a single text drafted but unsent. I'm checking myself in. I need help. I don't trust my thoughts anymore. Emily, she looked at her reflection, adjusted the necklace, then whispered to it.
They'll believe you wanted it.
Chapter 10, Cold Flame. Location, remote cabin, Shenandoah Mountains, Virginia. It was cold even in May, the kind of cold that got into your bones when the wind dropped and the trees whispered just out of earshot. Emily sat at a table by a cracked window, looking out into the dark woods, her hospital badge on the table beside her. Not her badge, the one Clara had forged. Jack was across the room, wiring a decoy laptop into a mobile hotspot dead zone. The walls were lead-lined. Nothing went in or out. He moved with mechanical focus.
Once we go live,
He said.
she'll be watching, maybe listening.
Emily didn't look at him.
Good.
He glanced over. She hadn't slept since the message, the fake institutional file, the attempt to erase her. She didn't look like someone clinging to sanity. She looked like someone loading around into the chamber. The trap, phase 1, digital bait. Jack set up a clean virtual drop, an anonymous user on a darknet psychology forum claiming to be Emily, asking for help, leaving a manipulative husband, a slow leak, enough breadcrumbs to suggest instability, emotional desperation, and, crucially, a plan to disappear. They included a time-stamped post. If anyone finds this, just know I'm going off-grid today. He knows, he's watching me. I have to become someone else. They knew Clara would see it. They wanted her to. Phase 2, behavioral lure. Emily filmed a video in a single take. Sitting at the edge of the bed, red-eyed, voice shaking just enough to sell it.
I'm losing time, hours I can't account for. I hear things at night. Jack says I'm imagining it, but I don't think he's being honest with me anymore. Maybe I'm dangerous. Maybe I need help. If something happens,
She trails off, looks down, whispers.
I wish someone saw me for real.
Jack blurred the timestamp, spoofed the geotag, posted it from a burner server under a password-locked link Clara had to break into. Then they killed the lights and waited. Hours later, unmarked SUV parked near Fairfax. Marcus Tellis leaned into his headset, listening. He'd been listening for 3 hours, monitoring the decoy system. Then the alert chirped, a soft, distinct triple beep. Jack leaned forward.
What is it?
Emily asked. Marcus grinned.
She bit. She accessed the link. Used a signature string based on a Turkish proxy node from the Istanbul operation. Same one Sabine used during exfil attempts.
Jack's face went grim.
She's not just watching.
Marcus nodded.
She thinks she's won.
Final bait, the meeting invitation. Jack typed a message. From emily.rowan@protonmail.com to Clara Vale 357@kiaml.io. You were right. I can't fight anymore. If you still want to talk, meet me at the place in the video. 3 a.m. Come alone. He sent it. He turned to Emily.
She'll come, but not to talk.
Emily nodded.
Then let's make sure she meets the real me.
Chapter 11, Becoming. Location: motel room near Fairfax, 1:12 a.m. Clara stood before the mirror, silent. Her hair was curled the same way Emily's was in the hospital ID photo. Her makeup matched, subtle, natural, the exact nude lipstick Emily wore when she testified before the VA grant board 2 years ago. Clara knew the shade. She'd studied the video frame by frame. She slipped on the beige cardigan, the silver chain, the hospital badge. Emily Rowan, admin director, perfectly replicated. She adjusted the tilt of the clip, checked the neckline again, then turned sideways. There! The mirror reflected a woman who looked like she'd never been Clara at all. The ritual. On the motel bed lay a small black case. Inside it, her tools. Burner phone, set to auto-delete all messages after 60 minutes. Flash drive, loaded with every falsified medical and behavioral record for Emily. A real court-ordered psychiatric warrant, modified digitally from a previous patient in Virginia Beach. A new set of identification papers, Emily Rowan, address updated to a non-existent unit. In Silver Spring, she packed them methodically. To Clara, this wasn't cruelty. It was symmetry. Emily had served her purpose as a template. Now the template could be discarded, replaced. The real victory, Clara believed, wasn't erasure. It was inheritance. The voice in her head. She sat down and closed her eyes, breathing steady, in, out. You waited, said the inner voice. You became her in pieces. She didn't answer it aloud. She didn't need to. The voice wasn't hallucination, it was clarity. The inner mechanism that had survived Istanbul when the handlers left her behind. When Jack Halvorsen had marked her for death by inaction, now she would take something that mattered to him and leave him watching the world accept it. 1:54 a.m. Departure. She left the motel and got into the car, a leased black Hyundai Tucson with stolen plates from a Maryland dealership. No GPS, no trace. The destination was already hard-coded into her burner GPS, a wooded area 30 minutes out of town. Secluded, empty, perfect. She glanced once more at the passenger seat, where the folder with Emily's forged admission papers sat. The name on the top tab was clear. Rowan, Emily, voluntary committal. She smiled.
Tonight,
She whispered.
you become the past tense.
She started the engine. 2:47 a.m. En route. As she drove, Clara rehearsed the last interaction. The voice, the tone, the facial expressions. Emily would be trembling, fragile, desperate for clarity. Clara would play the calm shadow, unflinching, understanding, a savior dressed in the skin of empathy. She would offer her a ride. She would offer her a choice. And when Emily stepped into the car, the world would shift. What Clara doesn't know. As she turned onto the forest road, a single tracking device, hidden in the gas tank by Marcus, pinged silently every 45 seconds. And in a dark van parked a quarter-mile away, Jack and Emily waited, watching the signal on a blacked-out monitor, synced to a drone hovering silently overhead. They saw the Tucson. They saw her get out. They saw the moment she stepped into the kill box. Chapter 12. The Turn. Location: wooded clearing, 3:01 a.m. Clara stepped out of the car slowly, gently closing the door behind her. No lights, no noise. The trees loomed around her like sentinels, tall, still, listening. She clutched the leather folder under her arm, her other hand resting lightly in her coat pocket where the burner phone sat. Emily would be nearby, confused, possibly emotional, possibly ready to disappear. She walked 20 paces into the clearing, stopped, listened. Nothing. Not even wind. She frowned. No birds, no distant hum of traffic. Too quiet. She tilted her head and listened again. There, barely audible. A mechanical buzz. Overhead. Clara looked up. Nothing visible in the dark, but she knew the sound. A drone. 3:03 a.m. Awareness blooming. She turned back toward the path. The car was where she left it. The forest felt wrong now, like a set, like someone had staged the silence. Her hand slid into her coat, pulled the burner, checked the signal. No service, but it had full bars 10 minutes ago. She paused, her pupils dilated. She didn't panic. She ran the math.
Location compromised, drone presence, artificial signal jamming, no immediate engagement. Objective, delay, trap, target, me.
Clara's breathing stayed calm, but her hands began to sweat. She turned toward the trees, moved fast, low, silent, back toward the car. Then she saw it, the back license plate. She hadn't noticed earlier, but now painted cleanly across the top edge in a shimmering dot matrix barely visible in low light. Property of DC Field Operations. Her mouth went dry. The car was a plant. 3:05 a.m. Extraction cutoff. She reached for the secondary escape key in her pocket. A small black thumb drive, wired with a soft crypto key set to auto-wipe all of her forged records and erase the fake Emily credentials from cloud backups. She plugged it into the car's USB. Nothing. The system didn't respond. She checked the drive. Empty. Wiped. Already. She turned back toward the clearing, and there she was, standing in the dark like a reflection. Emily. Wearing black. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a tight knot. No fear. No tears. Just a stare as sharp as steel. 3:06 a.m. The realization. Clara stepped forward.
You finally showed up.
She said. Emily tilted her head.
No, you finally saw me.
There was no tremor in her voice. No break. Clara felt something slip in her chest. Not fear. Something worse. Doubt. Emily had been bait, and Clara had walked right into her role reversal. Then came the voice in the dark.
Sabine Vale, step away from her.
Jack, emerging from behind a tree, sidearm drawn, Marcus at his flank. Two other silent silhouettes fanned out in the tree line. A box was closing, but Clara didn't flinch. She looked at Emily, then smiled, soft, patient.
So this is the part where you think it's over.
Emily stared back.
No, Clara. This is the part where you find out how it feels to be the ghost.
Chapter 13. Who You Are When You're Watched. Location, forest clearing, 3:07 a.m. The clearing was dead silent. Jack and Marcus hung back, watchful but unmoving. Jack had holstered his weapon. He knew now this was not his war to finish. This was Emily's fight. She and Clara stood 6 feet apart, motionless. Two mirrors that no longer reflected. Clara took a step forward, slow and deliberate.
You think this means anything?
She said quietly.
All this drama, the trap, the drone, your performance.
Emily didn't answer. Clara's voice sharpened.
You needed all this help just to face me. That's who you are. You're the dependent variable.
Emily took a step forward too.
No, I'm the constant. You've just been writing your equations around me.
Clara's nostrils flared.
Look at yourself.
Emily said.
Dressed like me. Talking like me. You needed to be me so badly, you forgot how to be anyone else.
Clara's fingers twitched, subtle.
You think you've won?
Clara said.
But what happens after this? I disappear. You go back to Jack, hoping you can make it work. Wondering if he ever looked at me longer than he should have. You won't ever stop questioning that.
Emily's stare didn't break.
I don't need to stop questioning it, she said. I just need to know it was you who tried to destroy us. Not because he wanted you, because you couldn't live with being forgotten.
Clara's mouth tightened.
You're wrong, she said, quieter now. He did want me. He still does. In some buried part of him, he's never shown you. I saw it.
Emily's voice cut like wire.
No, what you saw was a reflection of your own damage. Jack didn't see you. He saw what he lost in Istanbul. Guilt isn't love, Clara. You were his failure, not his fantasy.
That landed. Clara's hands curled into fists. She took one more step forward.
You think you're whole because you didn't break when I pushed? She said. You think that makes you real, strong? You're just one trauma away from being me.
Emily stepped even closer, close enough now that their shadows crossed.
You've spent your entire life making people into ghosts, she whispered. But I'm not going to disappear.
Clara's voice dropped, low and venomous.
I could still end you.
Emily leaned in, nose inches away from hers.
You already tried.
And then, Emily reached into her pocket, held up the forged documents, the false badge, the psychiatric record. She opened her hand, let them fall to the dirt between them, then turned and walked away, deliberate, unafraid, leaving Clara standing in the clearing with nothing. Jack moved forward, slowly, but Clara didn't resist. She just stood there staring at the badge in the dirt, like it was a gravestone. Not for Emily, for herself. Chapter 14, Vanishing Points. 4 days later, federal detainment facility, undisclosed location. They kept Clara in a concrete box, no windows, 24/7 observation, her access to technology stripped down to zero. No phone, no signal, no cables, no screws in the fixtures. She said nothing during processing, answered no questions. Psych evals came back inconclusive.
Subject highly controlled. Presents no visible distress. Shows no remorse, no defiance. Rare eye contact. Refuses to sleep more than 45 minutes at a time.
They ran her DNA through half a dozen legacy intel databases. All came back empty. Her name meant nothing. Her prints meant nothing. She didn't exist. They scheduled her for transfer to a deep black psychological containment unit in Nevada. The van left at 3 a.m. It never arrived. 2 weeks later, Jack and Emily's home. Emily sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, mug of lukewarm coffee in her hands. She watched the fog roll off the yard like breath from the lungs of something old and tired. Jack came out quietly, sat beside her. They hadn't spoken much since the detainment. Words felt like bruises, too tender to press.
She's gone, Jack said finally. The transport was hijacked. The driver was found unconscious. No cameras, no trace.
Emily didn't look at him.
She always planned for it.
She said. Jack nodded.
She'll never come back the same way twice.
They were quiet again. Then
Emily said, when she stood there, I felt nothing.
Jack looked over.
No fear, no hate, nothing. She looked down at her mug. And now I keep wondering what that makes me.
Jack didn't answer immediately. Then
It makes you done with her.
Emily let the silence stretch.
Are we done with her? She asked softly.
Jack didn't answer that either. 6 months later, Greece. A bar along the coast filled with music and laughter. A woman sat in the corner, sipping ouzo, a dog-eared copy of The Art of Disappearance open in front of her. Her hair was shorter now, dyed chestnut. The scar behind her ear had healed. She watched the bartender flirt with a couple, smiled softly. She pulled out a small phone from her bag, typed a note.
Target resurfacing in Baltimore. Reassess strategy.
She paused, then added a period.
I'll take the wife again. More satisfying.
She hit send, set the phone down, and vanished into the crowd. Back in the States, Emily's study, 12:03 a.m. The email pinged softly, an anonymous message. No subject, no sender. Only a single line.
I know how you breathe.
Emily stared at it, then quietly closed her laptop, went upstairs, and locked the door.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storytime with Papa Owl. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe.